for another fabulous edition of the Etiquette Show, and we have an amazing guest today, Doug Vairo, who's going to be talking about credit scores and all sorts of great information that we all need to be mindful about if we want to have a good financial health and to have success in our lives personally as well as our family. So take it away, Santosh.
Doug Vairo is the director of New York School of Real Estate. Since 1998, Doug has trained thousands of loan officers and real estate agents around the country. Doug has trained for companies such as Capital One, Wells, Fargo, Morgan Stanley, Exit Realty, Cybor, and others. Doug has been called an enter-trainer by many students. He weaves fun and learning into a great experience. Doug has authored Credit Smart and Loan Officer Training Bootcamp. Back in the late 80s, Doug had great credit only to fall ill and lose everything. His credit went from the penthouse to the flophouse overnight. Doug will teach you how to repair your damaged credit according to the Fair Credit Reporting Act. You can find Credit Smart on Amazon and his bootcamp at www.loanofficerstore.com. Welcome to the show, Doug, and great to have you here with us.
Hi, Santosh. Thank you.
Fantastic.
No
Great
problem.
to have you here, Doug. And first question that is what is a FICO score? Why is it important? And why should we all know about what a FICO score is?
So that is a great question, Ray. It's a question that comes up a lot even when I'm training a class on credit. And most real estate agents and even a lot of loan officers, until they get the experience, don't really understand because we're not taught in school what it's all about. Now, FICO is a very specific type of scoring model. There are a lot of scoring models that are out there, just like you have aspirin. You have a lot of different varieties of aspirin. Bare aspirin is bare aspirin, right? You're buying a brand. Well, FICO stands for Fair Isaac Company. Two guys got together, William Fair, Earl Isaac. They formed a company, so they used his last initial, F-I, company, C-O. And what happened prior to FICO coming out and scoring credit reports, back in the day, if any of us were a lender and we wanted to look at somebody's credit and decide whether we were going to extend them credit, we would have to write for the credit report. It would come back, and then each one of us, if we owned our own banks, would have our own scoring models. So you might give somebody that paid off a car loan 5 points, Santosh, and Ray might give them 20 points. And people say, well, Ray's bank gives us more points for that. But, Santosh, you might only need 60 points to qualify for a loan at your bank, and at Ray's bank, you might need 500 points. So the 5 points at your bank actually is better for the borrower than at Ray's bank. So because we had all this disjointed ways of scoring people's credit, when these guys came up with the formula, the algorithms in the computer system, to look at millions of credit scores or credit reports and say, okay, based on this information, this is what we got, they're able to come out with a score. Now, here's what the score means. Let's say, Santosh, that you had an 800 credit score on your credit and I had an 800 on mine. Well, it doesn't necessarily mean that they mean the same thing, first of all. But a FICO score generally is just an indication of how likely a borrower is to go 90 days or late in the next year. So, just based on that, if you have an 800 score and I have an 800 credit score, that's saying we have a very good credit score and it's very unlikely that we're going to miss any payments next year. Whereas another borrower that has a 600 credit score, in that category, it might be that 5 people out of 100 every year will go 90 days late. So the risk has increased there. So a FICO score is nothing more than an indication of how likely is that borrower to go 90 days late or more in the next year. And as we all know, high credit score, lower risk. They get better rates. And that's really what a FICO score is all about.
Awesome. Well, that's very important information, that FICO just means of standardization so that you don't have all these discrepancies, that everybody's playing on the same game and the same playing field, so to speak, as far as credit and making it the best choices as an individual. So
Ray, before you move on from that,
yep,
saying it makes everything an equal playing field, and it would if the lender is using the same credit report for you and me. Like if they're pulling all three credit reports and they're using the FICO score Model 8, that makes us all equal. In other words, if I have a 600 score and you have an 800 credit score, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Here's the deal. There are a lot of companies out there that also make their own scoring models. So if you were to go to another website that's not FICO score driven, you might get a 750 on that score model, but a FICO score might only give you a 680. And here's why. You're not comparing apples to apples. In other words, another company might go from 290 or 250 to 900 for their credit scores, where FICO goes from 300 to 850. So all mortgage lenders across the United States only use FICO. So if you're getting a loan in Michigan and Santosh is in California getting a loan and I'm in New York getting a loan, they're all pulling the same kind of credit report using the same kind of formula to figure out a score. So it makes it equal for everybody. It makes it fair for everybody. And so here's my saying. If it's not a FICO score, it's a FICO score.
Oh,
I like that. It's catchy.
And if one is going to a sort of a lender, or is there any sort of requirements that companies have to acknowledge that they're using a FICO score, whether it's their website or any upfront, or should one just assume that they're using a FICO score?
Yeah, if we were not all using the same FICO score companies, then we would not be able to be on the same page, and the banking department would come down on us, and the government, everything. We're highly regulated and monitored, and for a good reason. You know, we want to make sure that there is no discrimination. If somebody's a 700, they're a 700. And this is what I was saying earlier, Santosh. Let's say we both have an 800 credit score, FICO. Mm-hmm. Well, your credit score might have 25 items on there, paid off student loans, car debt, and everything. I might only have one charge card from Sears Roebuck Company for 10 years. Well, I'm not a very high risk for defaulting on that, but I don't have robust credit like you. So a lender will look at both of us. We both might have enough money to put down on that house we're looking to buy, but my credit is not as strong as yours, even though the credit scores are the same. I haven't proven myself that I can handle a lot of credit, and you have. So your 800 is actually more solid than my 800.
Okay, more experience, more like they say that I'm doing more stuff, so they like more history.
Look, not for nothing. If we wanted to take, if Ray wanted to hire you or me to drive a tractor trailer across the country to deliver something, and you have 3 years of driving a tractor trailer, and I don't have any experience driving a tractor trailer, I might be good at driving all kinds of vehicles and everything, but not a tractor trailer. Even though we both have the same type of license, you're definitely a better candidate for doing that. So there's a lot that goes into credit. People think it's a simple thing, an easy thing. And if you go on to Amazon, Ray actually helped me. He had a designer redesign the cover of my book. My book's been around for a long time, and I love that. I love that redesign of that book. You go on to Amazon, you look for Credit Smart by Doug Vairo, and you'll find a lot of this information in there.
That's Santosh. Santosh is the designer.
You designed that, Santosh?
Yeah, I was. That was my cartoon and everything.
I love it.
But thank you. I really appreciate it. It was an honor. It was an absolute honor to work for you.
You know what? I want you now, Ray. I want Santosh to sign one, because I have it here in my basement here, where I have stuff on the wall. I want a signed copy from you, Santosh.
Thank you. I want a signed copy from you.
That'll work.
That'd be great.
Awesome.
That'd be awesome. Thank you, Ray.
Awesome. Yes, Santosh is a fantastic designer. Everybody listening and watching out there is fantastic. So what is the best method for repairing the FICO score?
So another great question that we come up with. Now, here's the deal. The government came out with some laws, the Fair Credit Reporting Act, right? Congress came out with that, 1970. Prior to that, we weren't able to challenge anything on our credit reports. We didn't even know what was in there. Now, as a consumer, we're allowed to say, hey, that doesn't belong to me, or that's wrong information, and get it fixed. And for those people that do it the right way, it's really fantastic. When I was in Florida, you mentioned in the 80s, mid-80s, I was doing very well. I owned some business in Florida. I got sick, and then I was getting divorced. I lost everything. Wow. And I had creditors coming after me, and I bought a book on the Fair Credit Reporting Act, How to Repay Your Credit. And I was like, okay, let's see if this works. And I started doing everything in the book. And I was able to challenge creditors and work with them, and it really worked out great. And from there, I went to family and friends, and I said, hey, if anybody has any problems with your credit, if you'll allow me to look at it, I'll help you for free. I want to make sure it works for other people. And once I was able to help other people and repair their credit and realize that these laws actually work, I was like, fantastic. Now, I am a little old school on this, and you don't need to be. But when I go ahead and I fight something on a credit report, you want to make sure that you're not fighting 20 things at one time. It's frivolous. And you want to make sure that you're not fighting real stuff, that really belongs to you. You want to fight stuff that's old or erroneous or belongs to somebody else. Fight those things. And when you write your letter to the credit bureau, don't go on and on. Oh, I was walking down the street and a car splashed me with the puddle. And the people reading this, they don't make, $10,000 a day doing this. They're making $15 an hour, and they're going to decide whether or not it's something that they can proceed with. So I always send it return receipt requested so that I know when it got sent, who signed for it, that they have it, because the clock starts ticking for them. They have a certain amount of time that they have to respond to you. And if you do things correctly and you do them the right way, you can really improve your credit. I will tell you this, that when someone is applying for a mortgage at the mortgage companies that I've worked with over the years, if we're working on your mortgage, sometimes we can advise you what to do, and we can do something called rapid rescore. So here's something that happens a lot. Let's say my father and I have the same name, so I'm Junior. Let's say something that my father did has got a $5,000 collection on his credit report under his name. Let's say somehow the credit agencies put that on my report because I lived in his house, I got the same name, whatever, but it's not mine. I could prove to the mortgage company that it doesn't belong to me. They'll send that to the credit company, and sometimes within 48 hours, it's off my credit. And I've seen credit report scores go up over 100 points in 48 hours. Wow. So, a lot of good things.
Awesome. That's very important information. And you also have a website, loanofficerstore.com. Is that a website that people who want to find some more information about how to repair their credit scores or any questions about today's show, is that a good place for people to contact you and get educated about credit repairing?
Yeah, there's actually two websites that we run that they can get a lot of education. If they happen to be a real estate agent that owns a license in New York, New Jersey, or Ohio, we do live trainings on that for their licensing. That's www.NYSOR, that stands for New York School of Real Estate, but we encompass all our schools that we have in there, NYSOR.com. And the other one, like you mentioned, Ray, is loanofficerstore.com. There's information on there.
Awesome. Well, that's some great information. I definitely encourage people, all our viewers and listening audience, whether in New York City or across America, to go to this website, loanofficerstore.com, or if you're in those states that Doug mentioned, go to NYSOR. Is it NYSOR.com?
Yeah, NYSORE.com, New York School of Real Estate. Yep.
Awesome. So is there any sort of important information that you have not talked about that you want to sort of mention before we sign off? Some important pearls of wisdom or insight, or how people can repair their credit score and take control of their lives? Because, definitely credit is an important thing for modern society. So anything you wanted to add to that?
All right, Ray, sure. I would say, look, it can be tedious. It can take a little time. What I suggest is if you're looking to buy a car, a home, you're looking to make a big purchase, you should start 6 months before that. So next year you want to buy a house. Don't wait till next year. Order all 3 of your credit reports, right? Get all 3 of them. TransUnion, Equifax, Experian. Get all 3 of them. Go online. And even if you have to pay $29 to get your report, get it as a PDF. And this is what I would do. Save it on your computer. Print it out. Take each report separately. Put a staple in it. Now, what I do is I have a blue highlighter and a yellow highlighter. As I go through my report, let's say that they have they got my address incorrect, right? I'll highlight that in yellow because that's not affecting my score. That's something that's important. So anything that's not going to affect my score that's on my part of my credit, I do in yellow. Anything that's going to affect my score that I think I can help repair, I highlight in blue. So I get that out of the way on all 3 reports. And then I sit and I write a letter to each one of them. I put my name and my address, my phone number on there. I put who it's to. And in my book, I have copies of all these kind of letters and how they're outlined. And then I send them certified mail. Costs $3.50, whatever it is. But you have to invest in yourself. And then wait for a response. Usually you get a response within 45 days and see what's been fixed and what's not been fixed. And you can always go back and challenge more. Now, some people will do it online. And I'm actually okay with that because if you do it online through the company themselves, you actually have timestamps, date stamps, when things are done, and you have a history. But I prefer to do it where I have the actual physical letter. I can staple my receipts to it and everything like that. That's old school. But if you're doing it individually for yourself, that's probably the best method. But give yourself anywhere from 3 to 6 months to fix something before you apply for that major thing. And that's probably the best advice I can give you.
Awesome. Well, that's fantastic. So I would just want to give a special thanks to you, Doug, for appearing in our financial segment, so to speak, of the Etiquette Show. We're a lifestyles show dedicated to all areas of lifestyle, and finance is definitely an important part of how we live our lives. And wanted to thank you again for participating in our sort of financial segment, Doug.
Always a pleasure, Ray. And Santosh, thank you so much. We had a nice conversation this morning. It was nice meeting you guys. Have a great day.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much.
So much.
Well, thanks for returning to the show again. That was some great tips that Doug provided about, your credit score and how to, manage and protect your credit score. So on this segment of the show, we're going to be talking about 15 tips and how to save money and live on a budget in New York City. Some of the tips will be general tips that are good for anybody, who wants to live on a budget, and some of them will be specific to New York City. And then we're going to get into tips for how to live healthy and on a budget as far as the grocery bill, because as we all know on the Etiquette Show and all our viewers, that groceries tend to be a relatively sizable part of your budget. So we'll just get into that. According to awesome. So according to the MIT cost of living calculator, the required annual income before taxes for a single adult living in New York City is $69,282. For a working couple with 2 children, that number goes up to $159,180, just a bit over $159,000. The average rent in New York City, according to the same data, is about $4,475 a month.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, it's quite a lot. I mean, living in New York City, particularly Manhattan, is pretty expensive. The U.S. national average is reputed to be $1,700 a month, considerably lower. So that's according to Rent a Cafe. And in Manhattan is even more expensive. Manhattan is the most expensive borough. Brooklyn is about $3,550, and then the other boroughs are less expensive. As far as transportation in New York City, the New York City Metro Pass is a limited pass. It's about $132 per month. Comparable transit passes in LA is $118 a week. Chicago's are reputed to be about $75 a month. So those are some of the general stats that that emphasize how New York tends to be a little bit on the expensive side when it comes to groceries. The one person in New York, on average, according to the Rent Cafe, spends about $486 a month. Well, that's actually from
not too bad.
Not too bad. SmartAsset.com. There's the data from there. National average is $348 per month. So that's some of the general information as far as how New York stacks with the rest of the United States. So let's get into the some tips. So the first tip, again, this is just some tips from my own experience and from doing some additional research as well. But the number one, and this is no particular order. One big tip I find, which is experience of other people, how to kind of manage your money, not spend more than you need to and get into type of credit situations or credit problems, is to go cash only. So that's the first tip. Go cash only, because when you have your credit card, we're tempted to not necessarily be mindful of our budget, spend more than we need to. But if we go to the store and shop with a certain amount of cash and don't have a credit card and just pay what you have from whatever amount of money that you determine to be your budget, you're more likely to not spend over.
So even that applies to even debit cards. Like, so I use my debit card a lot, but you think cash we tend to spend less? If we,
I think cash is spending less, because when you have your debit card, you can technically spend as much as you have in your bank account. Of course, most of us are not going to do so. But debit card, in my view, you're going to still spend more, because if you only have $20 in your pocket, then that's $20. But if you have your debit card and you thought, well, I only want to spend $20, then maybe I'll just spend 22, or maybe I'll spend an extra $5 and go to my debit card.
Right, that's a very good point. That's excellent.
Yeah, so that's why I always I never use a debit card personally myself. I don't use credit card. I'm not going to use a debit card when I'm spending either. I just use cash. So that's rule number one, to kind of manage your credit, manage your resources. The second tip is research affordable grocery store options. There's a whole lot of different stores in New York City and on most places. Try to look for the most affordable option whether it's supermarket or whatever store you're going to. Don't just go to the first store, do a little research to make sure that you're getting the most bang for your buck. So definitely research affordable grocery store and other options in the city. And that's another way of kind of managing your budget.
Okay.
In New York City, Manhattan, Trader Joe's. A lot of people talk about Trader Joe's as being a great place to keep your expenses down. There's a lot of Whole Foods around Manhattan, in particular. Less Trader Joe's, but Trader Joe's, a lot of people, is pretty popular, it seems, with people trying to keep their budget down when it comes to grocery bill. So do your research as far as affordable grocery and other store options. Tip number 3, regulate social situations requiring you to spend. Don't be shy to establish boundaries for your participation. Like when we go out with friends and stuff like that, a lot of times if they're going to be ordering, out and like to go out, we're going to be tempted to, not to look weird by ordering a lot of food ourselves, more than we might need to, and causing us to spend more than we need to, just to keep socially conform. So in order to manage your budget, you have to basically, tell yourself that, tell your friends if you don't want to, if you think you're going to be embarrassed, that, okay, I'm only going to come out. I like to meet you guys, but I don't necessarily want to spend a lot of money today or whatever, however you want to phrase it and stuff like that. So you don't feel like, order something, but order something very small, because definitely when you go to restaurants, it can really
hit you.
It can hit your budget,
Yeah, and also you find out who your real friends are. Sometimes, like, there's some fake friends who they're trying to get you to spend more, but the real friends will understand that you're on a tight budget. That's important too, I think. Yeah.
Exactly. Cool. Your true friends should be understanding and not necessarily put you under any peer pressure to spend more than you need to. So definitely regulate your social situations and don't be shy about affirming what you are comfortable with and what you're not comfortable with. So that's important. But that would be like our tip 3. Tip 4, which is important in New York, is to walk or bike or take public transportation to work. I know that in New York City, in Manhattan, I don't like taking, I'm not really a taxi fan anyway. Like, the subway is good. Take the subway over the place. It's, one of the best public transportation systems as far as, getting from here to there, particularly in Manhattan. So walk and bike. I know I like walking all over the place in Manhattan. Is a great way to, check out the city and explore. So walk, bike, or take public transportation. Definitely avoid having to take the car. That car, gas, and all that stuff. It just racks up your bill. Having to take taxi, just racks up the bill as well. So walk or bike or take public transportation whenever possible. So that'd be our tip 4 in terms of saving money. So our tip 5 is change your lifestyle and your perspective of money. I know that a lot of people out there, they feel that in order to enjoy themselves, they cannot enjoy themselves without feeling the necessity of spending money, particularly lots of money to go to some Broadway show or some other expensive activity. There's a lot of free activities to partake in the city, great cultural activities, particularly during the summer. So partake in free cultural activities out there in the city, activities which may include reading, hiking, biking, or enjoying a concert. Don't feel it necessary that you need to spend lots of money in order to have fun. So that'd be sort of our tip number 5. In New York City, for example, there's the Staten Island Ferry, which is a free ferry to, check out the Statue of Liberty, Ellis Island, New York Harbor. Ferry runs regularly between St. George and Staten Island and Whitehall Street in Manhattan. Visit museums and cultural institutions for free with the New York City ID card. Card holders are eligible for free 1-year memberships or discounted tickets at several participating institutions. And you can escape the metropolis in the city by walking, hiking, checking out the trails in the city. Preferably I would advise with a group of friends. Attend a free concert. Lots of good concerts going on in the city during the summer. Over in 2024, there was reputed to be over 80 concerts going on between May and October 2024, and that's this year. So there's a lot of free.
And it's all free. Those concerts.
Yeah, all free. Yeah, all free. So lots of great activities ways to enjoy yourself in the city without needing to spend money, and to you can check out those with friends without necessarily needing to go to an expensive show or other activities. Our tip 6 is explore online for free other information on free events. There's this great website called theskint.com. That's THESKINT. Theskint.com. Theskint.com. Okay. Sends daily tips for free and cheap events in New York City regarding food, drink, concerts, movies, comedy, sales activities, arts, and more. There are always some interesting things going on in the weekend. And that's theskint.com, THESTINT.com, the skint.com. So that's one free, check out there and you'll get some free activities there. There's also another website at nycforfree.co. nycforfree.co is another great website. It offers all sorts of information on free activities taking place in the city. So that's our TEP 6, again, is explore online websites that are available to city dwellers who want to check out and want to keep up to all the free activities going on in the city. So our next tip is take advantage of free workshops and programs offered at the New York's Public Library. There's lots of cool activities that the New York information that the New York Public Library offers as far as free workshops and programs. You know, from people who want to upgrade their skills in English to all sorts of interesting classes and stuff like that. So that's very value added for your money there. So check out the New York City Public Library. You can save money at the same time, upgrade your skills and make your and upgrade your ability to find the employment in the career that you seek. So check out the New York City Public Library for activities there, and another way of avoiding spending more money than you need to. One other tip, tip 8, is go homemade, including making coffee at home.
Yeah,
so
good one.
Definitely, like, you know, if you keep going to those corporate coffee places that charge between $4, $5, $6, $7, $8 every day, that's going to add up. You can make a cup of coffee way cheaper at home, and you don't have to necessarily, buy your lunch all the time when you're at work. Try to mix your lunch at home. Do what you can to do at home. Bring friends at home. Cook at home. Try to minimize your exposure to very expensive restaurants and very expensive coffee on a daily basis as a routine. So
I've heard it's healthier too. Like when you cook more at home, you know what ingredients you're using. Even fancy restaurants, I've heard, you don't know what's really like they're actually putting in your food sometimes. So it's like healthier and cheaper often to eat at home or make coffee, of course.
Yeah, definitely. It's a good point as far as the ingredients. I know that there are a lot of restaurants out there that have nice, attractive looking food, but when you find out, because I'm a bit of a foodie, they have all kinds of chemicals, and sometimes you go to these restaurants, and if you're used to eating healthy, you might feel a little strange or a little bit off. It's because they're putting chemicals in the food.
Possibly, yes.
To extend the shelf life of the food, so you don't have to throw it away as much. So definitely, when you eat at home, you can, as you say, Santosh, you can control the ingredients and have a more healthy life. And the more healthy you can be, the more you can cut down on expensive doctors and other medical services. So try to be, so again, these tips will not only immediately have an effect in your pocketbook, hopefully, but will also help you avoid the necessity of doing certain lifestyles that are going to contribute to spending more money, whether it's your dentist or whether it's going to your doctor because you were eating too much of certain types of food that are not very good healthy for you.
Yes.
And while we're at it, in terms of one thing, another tip is, particularly it applies to New York City, live with roommates if you can. That'd be our tip number 10.
That's the big one.
That's a big one. So, definitely if you're going to buy, I know exploring apartments in the city, in Manhattan, very expensive. If you can share, then that's going to cut down big time on your yearly budget for accommodation, for whether it's renting or what have you. You just have to make sure that when you're living with a roommate, be very thoughtful, because sometimes your roommates can cause a lot of problems if you don't know them that well, or if you have a different lifestyle. So living with a roommate can be great if you have a shared lifestyle, if you know each other, if you're very compatible. If you're not compatible, they can cause a headache. So definitely, living with roommates can save a lot of money, but you have to be very thoughtful about that process to avoid causing headaches and other expenses like having to keep moving and moving because the roommates are like crazy. So another big thing is our point number 11 is join the sharing economy. Like in New York City, there's ways to get all sorts of free stuff. One app, not an app, but Facebook. There are buy nothing groups on Facebook, and actually there's an app as well called Nextdoor where people are just only stuff for free. People are moving in and out of the city all the time. Sometimes they want to dump a lot of their stuff that are still pretty good. You go to these buy nothing groups, and you can actually get a lot of free, very usable stuff that people don't want anymore. That you can save big time in terms of buying it yourself.
Yeah, and you save the environment too. Like a lot of things end up in the junkyard, unfortunately. So you're saving money and the environment. Just wanted to add that.
Yeah, so that's a good point. Save the environment.
Yeah.
And save your pocketbook at the same time. So join the sharing economy from getting a lot of free stuff which are available from these Facebook groups and app like Nextdoor. So number 12 is, which we kind of mentioned before, is get a New York City identification card. If you live in the city, that's going to be great for getting a lot of benefits as far as special discounts for ballet and other performances. There's all sorts of institutions that are cultural that you can get discounts from. Institutions like the American Museum of Natural History, Brooklyn Children's Museum, Metropolitan Museum of Art, Museum of Modern Art, Museum of the City of New York, Whitney Museum of American Art. These are a lot of benefits you can get when you get a New York City identification card. And a New York City identification card also is good for ID for many different opportunities that you use ID for in the city. So check out that. Our tip number 13 is health savings. Go to nyccare.nyc. NYC Care is a health care access program that guarantees low cost and no cost services offered by New York City Health and hospitals to New Yorkers who do not qualify or who cannot afford health insurance based upon federal guidelines. It is the nation's largest and most comprehensive initiative to guarantee health care for New Yorkers, regardless of immigration status or ability to pay.
That's incredible. So if there's an emergency, they can cover the costs of it and stuff like that. That's very good.
Yeah, they don't have that. You have an emergency or some kind of health problems. A lot of people avoid in this, states going to a doctor getting medical treatment because they don't have private health insurance and they can't get coverage. If you are in the category which you think that you really can't afford it, but you have health issues that you want protected, check out nyccare.nyc and see if you're qualified for savings rather than spending money that you may not have. Another great way, tip 14, is buy a city bike a day pass, where you can check out the city and bike the city, and it's a 19-day pass that you can check out that visitors can also use as well. So check out City Bike Pass as a way of saving money as well. Also, we want to, for tip number 15, in terms of saving your money and protecting your credit score, avoid chain drug stores, restock a local dollar stores. I mean, there's a lot of great chain stores in the city, but you can save a lot of money just by going in terms of office supplies, toiletries, and even groceries by checking out some of these discount stores. To try to be, even though the chain stores are all over the place in Manhattan, and they're very accessible. I've popped in them as well. A lot of great chain stores. There's a lot of cheap alternatives in the city if you're prepared to check those out. So those are our top 15 tips for anybody wanting to save money in general across the states or potentially other parts of the world, and as well we incorporated tips particularly for New Yorkers who want to save money. So with that said, we're also now going to go to the talk about, since we all know that groceries are a little bit more in New York City, a little bit more expensive than other parts of the country, He also compiled 14 tips for eating healthy on a budget. So hopefully our viewers out there or listeners will find at least one or more of these tips helpful if they want to save money at the grocery store and cut down their bills. Tip number one in terms of eating healthy on a budget is avoid waste. Buy only what you sure you'll need. I know that, for example, you see bananas on sale and you buy 2 more than you need and they go bad, you're just wasting money and stuff like that. Sure. So don't buy more than you need to, particularly if it's something perishable. So only buy what you need and what you use, and so that things don't get spoiled. And so try to cut down on waste. The second thing is when you're trying to eat healthy and on a budget is to be a very disciplined shopper. Stick to your grocery list. Don't get sidetracked. Try to stick to whole foods, which bring you more energy. Whole foods like, sweet potatoes, we already mentioned, bananas, peas, beans, lentils, eggs, these sort of whole foods that'll give you energy and it'll contribute to a more healthy lifestyle. When you eat more whole foods, you'll end up not only having a more healthy lifestyle, but you'll cut down the need to keep buying. When you buy more processed food, they may look cheap, but you have to buy more of them because your body cannot get the energy it needs to in order to use from those processed food, and they're just not good for you. So stick to the grocery list. Avoid getting sidetracked, because you don't stick to the grocery list, you're going to get, compulsive buy. Let me get that. Let me get this.
Everything's so shiny, and they put everything right near the cash register. You pick up that candy or whatever. Stick to your grocery list. And also another tip I always heard is never go grocery shopping hungry. If you're really hungry, you tend to look for all the quick foods. Have you heard that expression? That's one of our tips as well. Don't go when you're hungry and stuff like that, because you just be tempted to buy too much. Or go to a fast food let me just go to a McDonald's or something quickly and eat something and then go grocery shopping. Just try to eat at home and then.
Exactly.
That's once in a while it's okay, but especially every day it adds up.
Yeah, so definitely try to eat a little bit at home. Make sure you're satisfied so when you go to the store, you're not picking up more than you need to. I know for myself, I always do that. But a couple of days ago, I got tempted, and what it was actually what I bought was a trail mix, which is good. I'm very in control of what I buy.
That's good.
The shoppers, and I bought a trail mix of, I think it was raisins, almonds, sunflower seeds, pumpkin seeds. So sometimes I get sidetracked, but when I do get sidetracked, it's because of I'm always eating healthy as much as I can. So definitely don't go hungry. Try to be a disciplined shopper. Don't go hungry, just like you said, Santosh, and try to eat a healthy snack before you go out.
Very wise.
Yeah. So tip number 5, buy whole foods, as I mentioned before. Buy quality. Also another tip 6, of our 14 tips, buy generic brands, which is like the no name, the ones without, they're not brand name. Often they are just, these store manufacturers, the brand names. A lot of times they get their whatever they're producing from a certain source, and they just put their label on it, and then you get mesmerized by the fact that it's coming from X label or Y label. If you go to these sort of generic brands, you can oftentimes get the same quality or almost the same identical product, but it's just that it's cheaper because it doesn't have the extra brand, that's the cachet name on it. So but it's very important to read the label as well, because every now and then, if you're buying these no-name type generic brands, you can get lower quality. Like, for example, if I'm buying peas, for example, I don't like buying peas that have sugar in it and stuff like that. I always buy with just peas and water. And sometimes you go to these other products that are generic, you might get peas with sugar and salt, which makes it a little bit more tastier, but are not as healthy for you.
Yes. True.
So try to be an ingredient checker. Make sure that when you buy these generic brands, you're conscientious of what you're buying and that it's the similar quality to what you would normally buy. Because I don't mind spending a little bit more on something that's going to be better for my body. That's going to be that my body's going to get more use out of it than something lower quality. So definitely buying generic brands can be cheaper. Do you buy no-name products, Janitas?
Yeah, I'd buy it whenever I can because, like you said, the taste is almost pretty much the same, and it's much cheaper. And so why not? It's lighter on the wallet, and it adds up, right? And it's the only thing is the packaging. It's all about the packaging. The big brands always have this shiny packaging. And, of course, if you have kids and stuff, kids are often, attracted to that kind of, or even we're adults can be attracted to the shininess of a certain brand name. But at the end of the day, especially when it comes to food, I find it's pretty much all the same. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. A lot of the brand names they'll get it vetted at special sessions, that sort of appeal to our psychology, buying and stuff like that. So, you go to a potato chip manufacturer or whatever manufacturer, and it really looks delicious. And if you're hungry, it'll stir up your juice. Oh, that looks delicious. Maybe we should buy that. So these brand names invest more in marketing to attract you to buying their product.
That's very true.
Yes, there's a psychology there, so that you can be conscientious of the psychology and the marketing that's going on in the supermarket. Then you can save money. Another way to save money is that a lot of companies will will take priority in shelving by make so that in terms of shelving, they'll put the big boys and girls, so to speak, in terms of the producers, they'll make sure that their products are right at your eye level.
Yes.
But some of the better quality stuff can actually be right at your feet and stuff like that. But those those are the lower, they get lesser priority, but a lot of times they are better quality products that may be at your feet because they're smaller companies that are offering better quality. And they don't have the traction with the stores in order to get that premium shelving right at your eye level.
Or I find that even groceries in general, the really good stuff like eggs, for example, the local grocery we go, it's all the way at the end of the store. So you have to walk and walk and walk to get eggs and milk, all the good stuff, right?
Yeah.
But all the chips and stuff is right, as soon as I enter the door, I'm just bombarded by all of these junk food companies. And I guess they pay a lot of money to get that position. Yeah. So the really healthy stuff, you really have to walk your distance. And, it's interesting how they will do everything. They place everything psychologically, to tempt us. So.
Exactly. Yeah. So our tip 7 is stop buying junk food, unhealthy ingredients, low energy, buy for nutrition, cut down on all that processed food that's not good for you. Tip 8, watch for sales and stock up. Watch for the expiry, though. Don't buy products that are going to expire. Don't buy more stuff than you need and find out you have to throw it away because the product expired. So some stores, what they do is that they will reduce the price just for the expiry. But then when you get it, it ends up becoming stale or you have to throw it out, particularly when it comes to meat and fish and stuff. You have to be careful of that.
True. Very true.
So watch out for sales and stock up, but watch the expiry date. Tip number 9 is reduce meat and other proteins. A lot of times, if you buy a lot of meat can be very expensive. So if you're able to buy more, to look for other protein sources such as legumes, hemp seed, eggs, canned fish, sardines in particular, that's definitely a recommended source for omegas and protein. Some people recommend tuna. But I wouldn't necessarily recommend tuna because tuna is reputed to have linked to mercury and stuff like that. So you have to be very careful about it.
Yes, I've heard of that. Yes.
Yeah, you just have to be very careful about that. So try to look for more canned fish and cut down on some of these expensive meat cuts that a lot of people buy and stuff like that. 10 is pack your lunch. avoid having to, spend money. You're at work, you go to the restaurant or local cafe. It's good to support the local economy, but packing lunch can save a lot of money. Number 11 is use coupons wisely. A lot of Americans are into coupons, but a lot of coupons are for junk food. Avoid, be very careful about coupons. Make sure that it's something that you buy and you don't just get tricked, so to speak, into buying something which is not going to be good for you, which is, so use the coupons wisely. So, appreciate, definitely go for nutritious food, as we emphasize. There's also that's tip 12, appreciate less expensive, nutritious food. Tip 13 is a food app. And it's a great food app that people might want to check out if you haven't heard about it before in New York City. It's called TooGoodToGo.com. It's an app that helps restaurants cut down on food waste by offering people unsold food at an affordable price. For a mere $4 to $5, you can end up with a big bagels, pizza, all kinds of stuff at a reduced cost. So check out TooGoodToGo.com. It's available in cities across the United States. New York, you want to check that out. That's a great way to get some cheaper food. Also check out our tip 14, a subscription service called MealPal.com. It's a subscription service base that allows customers to purchase meals from participating restaurants for less than $6 a meal. Members can reserve meals from participating restaurants at all at a reduced cost. They have a plan, and the plan is based upon credits relative to certain prices for those credits. So check out mealplan.com or TooGoodToGo.com. That's a great alternative if you're trying to also cut down on your grocery bill. So those are our sort of tips for saving money at the grocery bill, and our general we had about 14 tips for that, and we had 15 tips about saving money in general. So do you have sort of comments on any of those tips?
Well, for me, the biggest one, of course, is going to be rent, because that's like, as you said, in New York City especially, it's like $4,000. And big cities in general, the rent is the biggest one. So if you can get a roommate, maybe one, maybe even two, like if you have like 2 bedrooms or something, you can really save up a lot of money right there. And of course, another thing, like if you're in a city and you can make it with a bike or you can walk around, cars are also a big expense, because especially the parking and stuff. And if you can avoid that, it just adds up, right? Insurance and gas and all that stuff. So, and it's good. Walking is always good exercise as well. So, it's all great tips. I hope not just people in New York, everybody in a big city or anywhere can apply.
Yeah. Also, like if you actually own property, you can also turn your property into an income property some people use Airbnb as a way of supplementing their income. Some people just rent it out their place as well if they're a property owner, if they own an apartment, condo, or house. You can also use your property as a source of income. So you can either share, you can either go with as friends and share a place to cut down money, or you can turn your property into an income property if you are exactly a property owner. But definitely I think that, I find that there's a lot of people who I think, definitely you should say rent is a big one, how much money you're spending on rent or your mortgage if you're a property owner, but definitely you'd be surprised to know how much money you can cut down on the lifestyle choices you make on food. People think of food as such a seamless part of their lifestyle. They're not necessarily thinking about how expensive getting that $4 or $5 cup of coffee is, every day, and how much it adds up if they keep buying certain food that are not necessarily healthy for them, and they keep going out with friends out. You have a lot of people have a very expensive lifestyle, and they end up having credit problems because their lifestyle is so subconscious that they don't really see it as something that they can alter or modify. They just see something as natural, and And many people just think that, well, I should need to get more money rather than how can I cut down and save money. So if people start to think about their lifestyle, if they think that they're in a situation where their credit is going to be affected by debt, then definitely if you're in a situation of debt, it's very important to look at and do a self-examination, how you can save money to make sure that you don't get in a situation that your credit is going to be damaged and stuff by spending too much money on your credit card and doing all that kind of stuff. Because I find that these days people are just into like their credit card and their debit card, and that's how your money just flies all over the place. People with huge debt.
That's true. And you can't work forever. You want to have something, nest egg or something when you want to retire, right? So every penny you save now, you'll be thanking yourself like decades from now, so
awesome.
That's very important.
Awesome. Well, I just want to thank everybody for checking out and listening to our tips for 15 tips to save money and live on a budget in New York City, and our 14 tips of how to cut down on your grocery bills. If anybody has any comments to make to the show or any insight or suggestions, email us at business@bellnet.ca. That's business@bellnet.ca. If you have any comments you want to make about the show and stuff like that, just check us out. And thanks for listening. And we look forward to you checking out our next show of the Etiquette Show on New York City's MNN TV. Thanks again for watching. And thanks, Santos, for being a part of the show.
My pleasure. I learned a lot. Thank you.